What the Tech?
Hey guys, this is Rich with Wolverine Airsoft, and on today's What the Tech, we're going to take a look at the brand new Bolt from Wolverine Airsoft. This is a brand new system we are super excited about, some really cool stuff in here. This is not going to be a fully detailed installation video. We're very quickly going to go through generally how the installation is done, and then we're really going to dig into some of the meat of some of the patented technology that's in this system. So let's get started. Alrighty, so as we get started here, first question we want to answer is why the Bolt? This is a big question because why did we make this? The goal with the Bolt is really to make sniping competitive with modern HPA systems. Sniping in the airsoft world has always been something that is cool in concept, but even against traditional AEGs, it really struggled a lot just because of the inability to get shots off quickly and the overall lack of playability compared to AEGs. With the advent of modern HPA systems, it really has fallen even further behind as far as how competitive it is on the field. So with the Bolt, our goal is to make sniping truly competitive, even against modern HPA systems. So this is designed to be a gaming system, just like all of our other products. This isn't a cool gadget. This is intended to be effective on the field. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the Bolt and how it's designed and why it's designed that way. Alrighty, so here we have our Bolt. This is a production spec prototype, so there's very, very few things that are different on this than they will look in production. So it's basically exactly how it's going to come, with the exception of a couple minor details. So, first question everybody asks is, why electric? And that's a fair question. I've never really seen an electric sniper like this before, and why are we doing this? Because, to be fair, it adds a little bit of, it makes the installation a little bit more complex. You have to have the battery. So it's a fair question. Why are we doing electric? And this goes back to the question we asked originally, which is, why the Bolt? When we're designing this system, the goal is ultimate performance. If you're going to be competitive as a sniper, you want the absolute highest performance system possible. That is what gives you your edge over anything else on the field. So if we're going to design this system, there's no point in making any compromises. And the fact of the matter is, a solenoid valve gives you the best consistency, it gives you the best efficiency, and it also gives you zero spring force. This means that, when you're cycling the Bolt, there is zero spring compression in either direction. It cycles exactly like the real thing. The fact of the matter is, there's no other valving system out there that is going to provide the same level of consistency, efficiency, and just overall performance as a solenoid valve. So while yes, it's not, in some ways, you could say it's not as simple as a mechanical system. The firing of the system itself is much more simple. And as a result, it gives better consistency, better efficiency. Let's talk a little bit about the design. What is this design that we call the Bolt? Inside the Bolt, there's actually a couple of different patented technologies. The first is just the basic firing system. I'm gonna sort of draw this out schematically. We have our airline, and then we have our valve. We're gonna call this port 1. Traditional solenoid-driven systems have operated on a two-way valve system, either purely the solenoid valve or a piloted two-way valve system, but it's basically a two-way valve system. This is a brand new valve that we designed along with Mac, specifically to our specifications. This is a three-way valve. So we have 3 ports, 1, 2, 3. Instead of just the input and the output, we now have this middle port on the valve. So how the three-way valve works and how the system as a whole operates is the middle port goes to a reservoir. So you have your air input on port 1, and then in the middle port is a reservoir. Then your output, which is what fires the BB, is on port 3. What that means now is the valve, when it's at rest, when the system is not powered, supplies the reservoir. So the airline basically fills up this reservoir, and we'll talk more about the reservoir in a bit. But it fills up the reservoir, and then when you fire the solenoid valve, instead of the system firing from the airline, which is how it's traditionally been done, the system fires from the reservoir. When it fires, the valve now connects your reservoir to your output, to your firing chamber, and fires. What this means is that, when we're talking about consistency, when the system fires, when the gun fires, literally all that happens is this valve opens, allows the air to flow through and fire the BB. This means that there are no vibrations. The opening speed is very much unaffected by any of your environmental variables. So your temperature, your humidity, all that kind of stuff. It's very minimally affected by any of those variables. So with no vibrations, everything's extremely consistent as far as how the valve opens. Your shots are extremely consistent on the output. So let's move that up so you can actually see my input. This is basically how the system operates fundamentally. So one of the really cool technologies, that's sort of the second patented technology that's inside the bolt, is what we call our air saver. This is a really cool innovation because, again, what we have, just to sketch out our system here, we have our reservoir, air input, we have our air output, all connected to this valve. Now, on a system like this, you have your operating pressure. So your input, let's call it your operating pressure. This is what you set with your regulator to set set the velocity you're firing at and the energy level you're firing at. Your operating PSI, your pressure, is going to flow right through to your reservoir. Now, when this fires, the reservoir then empties all that pressure through to your output. But in practice, what that means is that this would go from when it fires, you're going to go from operating to what we'll call ambient, or 0 PSI. It's the pressure of the atmosphere. But when you're actually firing, what happens is as the BB moves down the barrel, your pressure, this is your BB moving down the barrel. And I'm going to draw a little graph here. We're going to get really technical for you techies. I know a lot of you snipers out there like to get technical with stuff. So let's talk about technically what happens here. This is our position. You graph exactly the same thing with time. We're going to call this axis our position axis. This is the BB moving down the barrel, right? And on the vertical axis, we're going to have our reservoir PSI. As the BB moves down the barrel, the air flows out of the reservoir and into the firing chamber. Let's draw one more line. This is the end of our barrel, and this is 0. So we start up here, say, at 120 PSI. As you fire, the pressure in your reservoir drops, right? Because the air is flowing out of the reservoir into the barrel. And it will eventually just dump all the air out, and it'll eventually hit 0. However, what you find is that the reservoir pressure doesn't get to 0 until long after the BB is gone and out of the barrel. In fact, in practice, it doesn't even get close. This is even drawn well to proportion. In practice, this reservoir is going to drop somewhere around 40 PSI. In the whole time that the BB fires. Everything after that, all the rest of the air in the system, is never used. It's just wasted. So the air saver technology, what it does is it puts a check valve, if you will, and I forget from my schematics, that's a diode. That is the wrong symbol. I forget the check valve symbol, but we're going to pretend that's a check valve symbol. Somebody can correct me in the comments. It puts a check valve between the reservoir and the output. So it allows the air to flow in, but then after the firing motion, this check valve closes as the pressure gets below a certain set pressure here. So, for instance, this may close at now 60 PSI. So that means instead of using 120 PSI of air, I'm actually only using 60 because my reservoir is actually only going from my operating pressure to my reservoir set pressure. What this means is you get massively more shots. It about doubles the number of shots you can get out of the system in practice. And it means really, the big benefit for snipers is that it means that actually shooting at very high velocity only uses a little bit more air with this system than shooting at much lower velocity. So even if you're shooting 2, 3 plus joules, you can still get very good efficiency out of the system, which is, again, important if this is going to be playable. You need to be out there. You don't need to be worrying about air running out or anything like that. This is, in a nutshell, the Airsaver technology. Again, all of you snipers are tech savvy, so you're going to have some more questions. So I'm going to do my best to answer some of the first questions that are going to pop into your mind. First question that most people that understand this type of technology are going to ask, they're going to say, but barrel volume. What if how do you match the output of air to the size barrel you're using, the length, all that kind of stuff, in order to avoid starving the BB for air and causing performance issue and all that kind of stuff. And this is where things get really cool, because exactly the same process that saves you, that is your Airsaver technology that saves you air, exactly the same process will allow you to match the volume output from the system to your barrel, because that's basically what we've done. Essentially, your reservoir is substantially bigger now than your barrel. No matter what, you're always going to have enough air in the reservoir. For any barrel that's ever been made in Airsoft, you have enough air in the reservoir to fire the BB. What you're doing, though, with the Airsaver is you're actually matching it, because this Airsaver technology is tunable. What it lets you do is it lets you adjust the set pressure of the reservoir. And so you can both maximize, at the same time you're going to maximize your air efficiency, and you're going to match tune your air usage to your barrel. So this is a very powerful technology. It makes a huge difference in how the system performs. How that works, and I'm not going to show you the internal workings quite yet on this system. You'll have to wait till it's released to see all the details of exactly how it's implemented inside. But basically, there's a spring-loaded valve inside here. When it comes from the factory, it will come with a very low set pressure. So you'll be able to run it anywhere 80 psi plus. The valve will not close until after the BB is fired. We'll have a combination of tuning parts that you can then use to change that. So instead of it operating at 80 psi, you want to operate at 120. You can now adjust the setting of the valve mechanism so that it will let you get your best efficiency at 120 psi. Set up for 80 psi, you can still operate at 120. You'll just be using more air than you need to. Because what this is doing is it's setting the minimum operating pressure of the system. And this is some very very powerful technology. It's very, very effective. It's also part of what makes the system so quiet. I just said not quiet. Anyway, it is quiet. Check mark. I'll do 2 check marks to negate the 1 cross out. It's what makes the system so quiet, because you're basically closing off the air supply just as the BB leaves the barrel. If you have this all tuned the way you want, you're closing off the air supply just as the BB leaves the barrel, so there's no excess air to make noise. So it's extremely quiet. This is why we say that the system is electromechanical. You'll notice I didn't put an FCU up here. There's no FCU. All you have is your wiring harness and a switch. And you plug in your battery, and now when you pull the switch, you can hear it clicking. It's opening the valve. You'll notice the valve stays open as long as I hold the trigger down. So there's no need for an FCU to set your timing, because it's all the timing of the system is all managed by the combination of the basic design and the Airsaver technology. There's no need for an FCU, so this is very, very simple. It doesn't drain battery at all when you're not using it. You can leave it plugged in. It's not going to, there's no FCU to suck battery. It's actually very, very simple and user-friendly. Again, I hope this has been informative for you guys. I know this got pretty technical. Hopefully you guys were able to follow along. If you have any questions, let us know. This is really a brand new concept in Airsoft. Nobody's ever done something like this with the sniper platform, and we're really excited about it. It makes this completely playable. You can get shots off quickly. The shots are consistent the entire time. You can stay on target because you're not pulling against a big spring. So this really makes sniping competitive. So let us know if you have any comments or questions in the comments section below. Any ideas for future What the Tech videos, drop them there as well, and we'll do our best to cover them. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you out there on the field. But you won't see us.